Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'll be teaching you how to create this pharmacy medication sales dashboard. So this dashboard is built using Python programming language and it's being run on Streamlit. Okay, so we'll be using the VS Code, Visual Studio Code, in creating this dashboard. So what does this dashboard does? It tracks the amount of medication you have in your pharmacy shop. You can know your daily medication sales, your monthly sales trend, and it also gives you we also created an alert system to tell us if any medication is out of stock or not. Okay, so it also have a side panel where you have a filter where you can filter for any of the drug category, or you can also make use of all. Okay, so if you want to see how I was able to create this and run this on Streamlit, then please ensure to watch this video to the end, and also make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you find it educative, so that we can get to a larger audience. All right, so without wasting time, let's dive right in. So the first thing we are going to do is to create a Python file. So you can click on this and let's call this let's just give it a, let's call this app.py. Okay, so this is going to be our Python file, and in my last video, if you could remember, I said to create a Python file you just have to add the .py extension at the end of any name you are giving your Python file. Okay, so the .py makes it a Python file. Now we'll go ahead and import all the libraries that we'll be needing to create this dashboard. So to create this dashboard, we'll be using Streamlit, Pandas, and Plotly.express. So remember that we'll be running this dashboard on Streamlit, and Plotly.express would help us to create interactive charts. So now the next thing we are going to do is to go ahead and load in our data set. So using the pd.read underscore csv, you will pass in the file path to your data set and the name of your data set. So remember that to get the file path is easy. Go to your folder, this is the CSV file. You can click on it and go to properties, and you can just go ahead and copy the location. So this is the file path, so you can copy the location and add the name of your file. Okay, so with the file extension, so this is what makes this line of code here. All right, so now the next thing we want to do is to ensure that our date column is a date data type. Okay, so we'll be using the pd.to underscore datetime to convert our date column to a date data type. So this is our data set. So this is our data set. We have sales ID, the medication name, the category of medication, if it's a antibiotic, a pain relief, a antihistamine, the units, the quantity. So for unit, it means if it's tablets, capsules, syrup, and so forth. So the quantity sold, the unit price sold per card, the payment method, the date the transaction took place, and the total price the customer paid. Okay, so we just want to, what we did here was to ensure that our date column is saved as a date data type. So what we want to do now is just to simulate a current inventory. And what do we mean by this? We just want a situation where we can get the current stock that is available in the pharmacy. Okay, so what we are going to do is we'll just be using the dot group by method. So we'll be grouping our data frame by the medication column, and we'll be counting, or we'll be summing the total quantity of a medication that was being sold. Okay, so that's what we are doing here, and we'll be saving this as the inventory. So this is technically going to show us how many medication was sold for each of the drugs. So it would be like paracetamol, we have 500 pieces sold, cough syrup 200 pieces sold, and so forth. Now to get the current stock, we are going to create an imaginary value which is 500, and we are just going to be subtracting the quantity sold from 500. So we are imagining that in the pharmacy the total quantity we have for each particular medication is 500. So we have 500 paracetamol, 500 cough syrup, 500 antihistamine, and so forth. So to get the current stock, we are going to be subtracting the quantity sold from this our fixed imaginary value of 500. Okay, so that's what is going to be giving us the current stock. So if we subtract the quantity sold from that value, we are going to be getting the current stock available. Now our inventory now will be having the medication name and the current stock. And remember, the current stock is just telling us the quantity sold, the number of quantities sold subtracted from the imaginary value of 500. So your 500 can be 1000, it can be 15. So it depends on the number or the quantity of medication you have in your pharmacy. Now the next thing we want to do is to create a sidebar filter. Okay, so we want a sidebar that will be holding our filters, and our filters are going to contain date range, various categories of medication, and so forth. Okay, so we want a sidebar that would house this filter. And to do that, you can create a sidebar on Streamlit by using st.sidebar.header. So you see, it's simple and straightforward. So calling the st.sidebar.header, it's going to create a sidebar header, and you can just give it a name as filters. So this can be literally any text. Okay, so for the categories, to get our various category, you have to use the dot unique method. So calling the dot unique method on category in Python, it's going to give us those specific or those unique categories in our pharmacy data. So for example, if we go and look at this, so for category we have antihistamine, antibiotic, pain relief, gastro, diabetes, and so forth. So it's going to giving us those unique categorical values in the various categories. So that's what dot unique does. And adding the total list to it makes give us a returned list of those values. So now the next thing we want to do now is to create our sidebar select box. So remember that we created a sidebar header that is going to be housing our filter. So to create a filter, you can use, there are different filters in Streamlit. So you have the select box, you have the input box, we have the slider, and so forth. So we have the various filter types in Streamlit. So for example, if I go down and let me say st dot sidebar dot, so you can see we have select box, select set category, slider, we have select. So we have different types of sidebar options on Streamlit. So we'll be using the select box. Okay, so we want a situation where we can have a drop down and we would have the various categories, and you can click from those drop down values. So we'll be using the select box, so calling the st the sidebar the select box and passing in our categories. So remember that we returned a list containing those unique values. So we have our categories here. So this is what we are going to be passing on our sidebars. So another thing we want to do is also to create a quantity alert, so that when our stock, our medication is lower than 50, it tells us that okay, our stock values or the number of medications we have for this particular category of drugs is dropping. When it is lower than 10, it gives us another signal that we are going below stock and so forth. So that's what we want to do. So using the sidebar slider, and we are going to be passing it those various range of values. So we want 10, 250. So now that we've created our filters on our sidebar, now let's go ahead and filter our data sets. Okay, so let's go ahead and return those rows of data that we want to see on our dashboard. And how do we do that? By using subsets in Python. Okay, by using subset in pandas. So calling on the dot copy method on our data set is just going to return a copy of that data. Okay, it's just going to duplicate the data. So we are saving the duplicated data as our filter df, and we want to say if the selected category, remember that to get the selected category was, we are just trying to pick any category. So for example, if the selected category is diabetes, if the selected category is pain relief, that's what we are technically saying. So if the selected category is not equals to all, then go ahead and filter the data set for that particular category. So if you are knowledgeable about Python, and you know how to make use of select, you know how to subset a data set from your data frame, then you should be able to understand what is technically taking place here. So we are calling on our filter df, which is our duplicated data we made. Then we are passing our category. We are just selecting the category column of that data set, and we are saying that only where the category is equals to the selected category, go ahead and filter the data set and return that particular selected category. So technically, if the selected category was, let me say for example, if it was pain relief, it's going to return the data set where we only have rows of data where the category is pain relief. So now that we've created our sidebar filters, we've also filtered our data set for the particular aspect of the data we want to look at. The next thing we want to do is to create a title for our dashboard, and it's easy to do that. You can use the st.title. Remember, st is for Streamlit. You imported Streamlit as st. Okay, so anytime we refer to st, we are referring to Streamlit. Anytime we are referring to pd, we are referring to pandas. Okay, anytime we are using ps, we are referring to plotly.express. Okay, so use st.title to generate our title, create a title, and this is a test. You can just go ahead and pass in any name of your choice. So we'll be calling this our pharmacy medication sales dashboard. Now when we are done with that, so we are just going to write a short test, and what we are going to be doing is to display the total number of medication we have in our data set. Okay, so in the pharmacy, what is the total number of medication we have in the entire pharmacy? So that's what it's technically saying. So len is length. Length is used to return the total number of rows of data in our data sets. So we'll be saying, for example, we'll be saying displaying 150 sales record, or displaying 300 sales record. So it just depends on how many rows of data you have on your data sets. So now the next we'll be looking at is the most dispensed drug. So what is the most dispensed drug in our pharmacy? So to get that insight, the first thing we want to do is to just create a mini subheader that says most dispensed medication, and we'll be using the st.subheader. All right, now to get the most dispensed drug, it's simple. You will be using the dot group by method. Since we are looking at the most dispensed medication. We'll be grouping by medication and looking at the total count or the sum of the quantity sold. So the medication with the highest quantity sold is going to be the most dispensed drug, right? So that's what we'll be doing. So calling on the dot group by on the filtered df, we'll be grouping by medication. We're calling on the dot sum method on quantity sold to return a sum. It is going to add up all the quantity sold for each of the medication type. Okay, so for example, we are going to see something like for paracetamol, it's going to add up all the quantity of paracetamol sold and return it. For diabetes, it's going to add up all the quantity of diabetic medication. Probably there was a, let's say for diabetes we have glucophage, it's going to add up all the quantity of glucophage that was sold and return the value. So the particular medication with the highest quantity sold is going to be our most dispensed drug. Okay, so using the dot sort values on our calculated answer is just going to give us the highest value. So you can see ascending is equals to 4, so it technically means we are using descending and we'll be having the highest value on top of our list. So to create a chart, we want to create a bar chart that is going to, visualize our findings, right? So we've calculated this, but we want it to be in a chart format so that our user can easily see which of the bars is the highest or the tallest. So to do this, we'll be calling the ps.bar. Remember I said whenever we are calling ps, we are referring to plotly.express, and that's what we'll be using to create all our charts, right? So ps.bar is going to plot a bar chart for us, and we are going to be giving it the x values, our y values, a title and a text. Our x value is going to be the medication, right? So the various medication names. Our y value is going to be the quantity sold, while the title, we can give this any title of our choice, and in this situation we'll be calling it our most dispensed medication. Okay, and remember to pass in the name of your data set which we are using, and we are currently using the dispensed data. All right, so using the st.plotly underscore chart, we've been able to set our container and pass in our fig underscore dispense, which is just the chart we've created. So with this, we've been able to create our bar charts. So if we want to take a look at this and see what we've done so far, so let me just go ahead and Ctrl S to save these. We'll go ahead and click on new terminal and we run this. So to run your chart, you can say Streamlit run app.py. Remember that we gave our file which we are running our code on app. Okay, so this is the name app.py. So let me click enter and run this. So this is our dashboard. This is what we've created so far. You could see it says displaying 400 sales record, the most dispensed medication. So we can see we have paracetamol as the most dispensed medication because the quantity sold is 1181 and the least dispensed is metformin with 412 quantities sold medication. So you can see we have our filters where we have select category. We can click on this and we can select on a particular category of drugs. So we can look at antibiotic and we can see all the antibiotic: paracetamol, amlodipine, azithromycin, omeprazole, ibuprofen, and so forth. So we are not done yet with our dashboard. I just wanted to show you how far what we've created so far. So let's go ahead and keep on working on our dashboard. So now the next thing we want to look at is our daily sales trend. Okay, so just like what we did earlier, we're going to give this a subheader. So st.subheader daily medication sales. So when I mean a sub-header. This is what I'm referring to. So something like this, that's a most dispensed medication. So we are just trying to like give it a title, okay, to our charts. So now we are going to say, to get our daily sales, we are going to be filtering our data by date. Okay, so we are going to be filtering the data by date, and we are going to be um, applying the dot sum method on total price to get how much we sold per day. Okay, so now to create a line chart with this data, we'll be using ps.line. We'll be passing this daily sales, which is our table of data which we just created, that shows us the daily sales value. The x is going to be date, our y axis is going to be our total price, and we can give this a title called the daily sales revenue. So with this, we've been able to create our line chart. Okay, so you can see for line chart we use ps.line, for bars we use ps.bar, so they are easy and straightforward. So using the lt.plotly underscore chart, we are just going to set our containers. Okay, and that's for that. So if I go ahead and control save this, and so let's go to our browser, let's go ahead and rerun this and see if our changes have been effected. Okay, so if we scroll down now, we see we have our daily medication sales, and it shows us how much we were able to, how much we sold, how much medication we sold for each day. So let's go ahead, and so the next chart we are going to be looking at is our monthly sales trend. So we've previously looked at the daily sales trend, right? So we want to look at our monthly sales trend. How much revenue did we make for each of the months in the year? Okay, so we'll be using the st.subheader, and we name this our monthly sales revenue. And instead of using just the date, grouping by the date, this time around we want to get the monthly value. So to do that, we're creating a month column in our data set, and we'll be calling that months. Okay, so because we don't want our data set to be altered, we would have to duplicate our already existing data set, which is our filtered df, by just calling dot copy on it. Okay, so calling the dot copy method on our already existing data set is going to give us a duplicate of that data set. So what we want to do now is to get the date column of our monthly sales, and we'll be calling the dot dt is the date time dot to underscore period. So what we are technically doing here is we want to retrieve the month's name from each of the dates. So we just want to return the month's name value. So for example, where we have 15th of March 2025, the month value that is going to be returning is just 03, which is March. So for this, it's going to return 01, which is January, 04, which is May, and so forth. Okay, so that is what we are doing. Using the capital letter M is going to return the monthly values. Okay, now the next thing we want to do now is to now group by our months and get the sum of the total price for those months. So it's just same process we did when we were looking at the daily value. The additional step here is that we just had to get the monthly names. So using the ps.bar, we are going to pass in our monthly sales data frame, and the month as the x value, total price as the y value, and we'll give it a title which is called monthly sales revenue, and also total price as just a test. So with this, we've been able to create our monthly sales bar chart. So if we go ahead and control S this to save, and let's go back to our dashboard and reload our dashboard. So now you will see that our monthly sales values have been added to our dashboard. So let's go ahead and scroll down. So now you see we have this. So it shows us December, January, February, March and April. Okay, so you can see for January 1st, December 29th to January 1st, the total sales we had was 70,783, while from February 1st to for the month of February, we had a total sales of 64,536. For the month of March, we have 65,853. For the month of April, we had 60,714. So we've gotten our monthly sales value for each of these months. So the next thing we want to do is to create an inventory. So that will tell us, it's just going to be like an alarm that tells us if we are running out of stock. And so if our stocks is getting low, it's going to tell us, oh, we are below so amount of stock, we need to restock and all that. So to do that, we'll just create an else the subheader and we give these inventory levels and low stock alert. Okay, so now what we want to do is to, just like what I always explain, using the dot copy is going to give you a duplicate of your data. So we just want to duplicate our data set. I will call this our inventory filtered. Okay, so we are going to sort these values based on current stock. Now what we are going to do is we are going to be filtering these data sets based on our quantity alert. So if the current stock is lesser than 20, it's going to return low stock. If it is lesser than, remember that we've created our quantity alert earlier on our sidebar. Okay, so we created our quantity alert and we had 10, 250 where we can select values from. So if you place it on 10, if your stock quantity is lesser than 10, it's going to tell you, okay, you're low on stock. If you place it on 50, so depending on the particular value you place your slider on, it's going to tell you if you are low on stock or not. So that is what this line of code is doing. So now the next thing we want to do is to create the alarm system. Okay, so what we are going to do to write this code, we are going to be using an if else block of code. So we are going to be saying if the length of the low stock, remember that we've used this low stock to return the filtered data frame for those values that are lesser than our quantity alert. So if the low stock is greater than 0, we will get a warning, low stock medication is detected. Else we're going to return no stock medication under the selected alert levels. Okay, so remember that we have various alert levels, 10, 20 and so forth, depending on the particular range you are going to place your slider on. So if you have any value lesser than 0, we are going to be getting low stock medication detected. But if there's no value within that a slider range you place your slider on, then technically we don't have any low stock. And now we are just going to add this line of code at the end of our dashboard just to tell our user what to use the dashboard for. So use the filters on the left to explore dispensing and inventory thread. So that's all the lines of code we'll be writing to create our dashboard. So we can go ahead and save this, and if we go back to our dashboard, which is currently running, and we run this, now we are going to see that all have been updated on our dashboard. So this is our dashboard. We have the pharmacy medication sales dashboard, and it's currently displaying 400 sales record. So the most dispensed medication is paracetamol. If you scroll down, the daily medication sales, this was how we made sales over the day. We have our monthly medication sales, so monthly sales revenue, how much we made for each month. So this is the monthly sales revenue. And if we scroll down, we have our inventory levels and low stock alerts. So we have the table that shows us for paracetamol, we have the current stock of -681. For At verse 13, we have minus 673, amlodipine 668, and so forth. So these are the current stock values, and we can see that we have low stock medication detected. So these are medications where we have values lesser than 0, and we can see that it says we don't have paracetamol available, we don't have amlodipine, we don't have omeprazole, and so forth. So if you go ahead and let's go to any of the category and pick a particular medication. So let's say antibiotic, you can click on antibiotic and it's going to filter our entire data set to antibiotics. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed the process of learning how to create this dashboard. All right, ensure to give this video a thumbs up if you find this in any way educative or informative, and you can drop your questions and comments in the comment section. If you have any question, I'll do my best to answer each and every one of you. So guys, bye for now and see you in my next video.